From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
Cascade Paint & Supply is Reading's oldest family-owned paint store, established in 1953. We are the largest Dunn Edwards dealer in the nation, and most of our products are made in the U.S. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff are ready to answer your questions and help you today.
Well, we made it through 1 year of Weather NorCal. That's right, today is the 1 year anniversary of Weather NorCal. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for your support. Without you, Weather NorCal would not exist, and even more so, without the funding, without the sponsorship, Weather NorCal would not be allowed to exist either. So I want to thank all of my sponsors who came on board before we launched, during the time that we launched, during the last year that have come on, some new sponsors as well, and very excited to see Weather NorCal grow. It is growing, and I can see that growth, and we will continue to do that through the next year. So here's to 1 year of Weather NorCal, and how about many years to come? All right, let's take a look at our weather headlines. We do have that warming trend. It peaks tomorrow, and it peaks on Saturday. And then temperatures after that will start to drop slightly. Now, the fire danger will be increasing, unfortunately. The winds are picking up a little bit. Temperatures increasing, dry conditions, the combination of it all just increases that fire danger. Now, not as hot, but still hot going into next week. And speaking of the heat, there's not any of it really for the coast. They're looking at that deeper marine layer, and that's keeping things cooler there. All right, if you're heading out to the Shasta District Fair this evening, yeah, wait until about 8, 9 o'clock at night. Now you're cooling off down to 80 degrees by 10 o'clock tonight. So it is going to make for a more bearable temperatures once that sun does set. And today is senior day, so seniors that are 62 degrees and over, yeah, you get in for free. All right, let's take a look at the Shasta District Fair going to the next few days. By tomorrow up to 106, 105 Saturday, and down to a cool 101 on Sunday. You get the idea. It's going to be hot for the fair. And taking a look at your neighborhood forecast at a glance for tomorrow, still some clouds along the coast. Temperatures mid-60s there, about 100 degrees for parts of Trinity County, and mainly 90s for the higher elevations for tomorrow. Let's take a look at the smoke out there. Now, the Sites Fire is the main producer of smoke for our area. And, you know, if you live in the area, you may have seen some haze off and on. We got a bit of a south wind, and that's helping to blow some of that smoke northward. But these colors here, and even these kind of yellowish, grayish colors, that's just haze. Now, the thing is, you're barely going to see that haze as you head out to these outer perimeters. But you start seeing a little bit more haze, not a lot, by the time you start seeing more colors like this. It's kind of those yellows that you start seeing more of that visible haze, and then eventually getting into the oranges and reds, you actually start smelling that smoke as well. So you can see here, as we go into tomorrow morning, you're not going to see much more smoke kind of get produced from this fire. The fire itself just hasn't been showing much activity here over the last 24 hours or so. And that's good from the standpoint of the firefighting efforts, but number two, it's good for our smoke forecast, because if it's not as active, then that means it's not producing as much smoke, and as a result, we just don't see as much smoke and haze out there. You can see even as we go into Friday afternoon, still just looking at the potential to see some of that haze out there. Now the winds, as I mentioned, they're picking up a little bit here. So as we go into tomorrow afternoon, more of a northwest wind for the north end of the valley, more of a south wind for the south end of the valley, but gusty for Shasta Valley, and those winds coming in from the northwest for the eastern mountains, and of course those north winds along the coast. So we take you in, fast forward into Saturday. They die down Saturday morning, but by Saturday afternoon, look at the strong south winds. Now, typically we can say, hey, a south wind, it's not as dangerous. And yeah, sure, if you want to really look at it that way. Typically, it won't be quite as dry with a southerly flow of winds in the valley, but still dry nonetheless. Now, you'll also notice the gusty winds off to the east, and still those gusty winds from the north for the coast. Okay, so when we kind of combine that now, we look at the humidity. So you saw the winds, they're picking up, especially in the afternoon hours for Friday, Saturday. Look at the humidity. Even in the mountains, you're talking about single digits and lower teens. That's going to be the same story going into your Saturday as well. Okay, so when we combine the heat, the humidity, and the winds, look what it does to our fire danger. So remember, the winds were strongest from the northwest to the north end of the valley. That's where we have the highest fire danger. More of a south wind, still strong enough, still dry, still hot. You're looking at also that moderate to high fire danger. But notice we're beginning to see more yellows on the map here for Lassen, Modoc County, and even into parts of Siskiyou County as well. Now as we go into Saturday, again that south wind, but it's a strong wind nonetheless, coupled with dry conditions and heat. That's why we have the high to very high fire danger in the valley, and we're getting in the moderate to even high category for some of the higher elevations. You see, now we're getting to see less and less of the green vegetation, and it's beginning to dry out even in the higher elevations. So when we start to dry things out and heat things up even in the mountains, now we're talking about higher fire danger in the mountains as well. So as I mentioned, it's warming back up. So what I've got my eyes on is this bubble of heat right here. Look what happens as we progress for Friday into the weekend. That bubble of heat begins to make its way over the desert southwest. Now that's where the biggest heat is going to be. All right? That's going to expand into our region, and that's why our temperatures in the valley are getting upwards of 105, 106 degrees. But saving graces are the fact that we have these storm systems riding toward north. Now this one is going to stay pretty far to the north, but you see how we're kind of staying in this little stagnant area here as we go into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday of next week. This is going to remain very consistent over the desert southwest and in fact get even stronger. But you see how we're not seeing it really expand much far to the north. In fact, if anything, we're starting to see the cooler air move closer to us. So as a result, for Sunday through about the middle of next week, our temperatures are just going to remain flatlined. Hot in the valley, but flatlined. And then eventually, by the time we get to the end of next week, say Thursday or Friday of next week, this cooler air is actually going to move through the Pacific Northwest and even clip Northern California. This could mean the potential for a decent cool down by the end of next week. What I mean by decent, instead of the triple digits, more like the 90s by Thursday, and maybe even cooler than that as we go into Thursday, Friday. We'll see. But for now, it peaks tomorrow, Saturday. There's that kind of that flat line, right? This levels off around 100 degrees, and then a dip in the temperatures by the end of next week. And that's really the same trend for the mountains. You see how it kind of peaks Friday, Saturday. We see the dip, levels off, especially Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then another dip by the time we get into Thursday of next week. That's for all of the mountains, by the way. But of course, the coast, you've got a temperature trend, but it's not the same. Basically in the low 60s, right around normal for this time of the year. So let's take a look at Futurecast. Now, I don't anticipate any rain. Really, the main story, the main thing I want to focus on is the coast. Look at that marine layer. So it's been fairly consistent. What we're starting to see happen, though, is by Friday afternoon, we actually may see that marine layer kind of erode away and clear things out. It returns, it looks like for many of us along the coast here, and patchy dense fog, let's put it that way, for Saturday morning. But look at off to the west here. We've got another batch of marine air that's pushing on in, and that's eventually going to be moving in Saturday evening, Saturday night. But the rest of us are looking at dry conditions. Afternoon cumulus clouds in the mountains, but that's it. No thunderstorms, no showers. Now look at the winds or the wave heights for Friday. They're beginning to show signs of increasing as that marine layer kind of begins to move in, but they can begin to decrease again for Saturday afternoon. All right, let's take a look at your marine forecast. Northwest winds at 15 to 20 knots. Your waves from the northwest is 6 feet at about 7 seconds, and there will be some of that patchy, dense fog here for your Friday. So tonight, yeah, still getting in those cooler temperatures, but these overnight lows are also starting to creep upwards as well. But I do expect generally in the mid-60s for the valley, 40s and 50s, mainly 50s for the higher elevations. So it's getting more mild for our overnight lows, and you can see here for the coast, right around 50, give or take. So we take a look at your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures about 100 degrees for some of the warmer spots like Weaverville in Douglas City, but upper 90s elsewhere. And then of course some of those higher elevations, low 90s. For your North Coast neighborhood forecast to the south in Humboldt County, those low 90s for places like Alder Point, Garberville, but look at that 7-day outlook for the coast, low 60s. We take it up to the north, inland, you do see those temperatures kind of peaking tomorrow, Saturday, dropping back down to the upper 80s to about 90 for Sunday through Wednesday, and then a bigger drop in our temperatures by next Thursday. Your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast temperatures in the upper 80s to the north and east, but elsewhere, mainly in the mid to even some upper 90s. Look at Happy Camp, about 99 degrees for that daytime high. We take a look at your Modoc County neighborhood forecast, about 90, give or take, pretty much anywhere you go. Temperatures peaking on Saturday, and then they dip again towards the end of the weekend and early next week. 89 for a high tomorrow in Westwood, 91 for Chester, 97 Shingletown, and much cooler in Viola with a high of about 88 degrees. In your Valley neighborhood forecast, brought to you by NorCal Tractor, oh, there it is. Over 100 degrees for most of us. Now, some areas like Biggs and Gridley, you may be able to dodge that triple-digit mark, but I think it'll be hard-pressed. That south wind is going to help to kind of keep things a little bit cooler to the south, but where we feel less of the impact of those south winds, and not to mention the fact that it's more of a north wind as you head to the north end of the valley, now you're talking about temperatures well over 100 degrees. Now, we take a look at that 7-day outlook for Redding. 106 degrees tomorrow, 105 degrees Saturday, leveling out at around 100 for Sunday through Wednesday, and then by Thursday dropping back down below 100 degrees.
We're the locals down the street. The neighbor you come to for advice. A nest egg for the golden years. A loan or a new account for that growing business. What started in Chico 50 years ago has taken us all around California, providing big bank lending power and high-tech service, while keeping our relationships personal. We're still the locals down the street, no matter where your street might be. Tri-Counties Bank, California's local bank.